All right, we had some big heads rolling out of the Champions League, both physically and metaphorically. Physically, Harry Maguire's head literally rolled out of the Champions League. And we also had Juve and Man United bounce out, probably the two biggest scalps so far, or actually two of the biggest scalps so far, because we've also had PSG fall out as well. Potentially the end of the Ronaldo Messi era. God forbid, sacrilegious to say. But yeah, and a lot more. Play that music, big fella. Get that finger out of my face. made me feel like
Wow.
made me feel like we're watching Spy Kids 3D.
Spunk Kids 3D with the what do you call them?
And
The
little thumb
nerd
guys.
glasses.
Yeah, the 3D glasses, dude. What a vibe that movie was.
Remember when 3D glasses were like just like cardboard with a bit of red and blue film in it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To be
And there was
honest,
that era of 3D TV, like there was that was the big market push. I was like,
mhm,
yeah, now you can have 3D TV in your
yeah,
house, and everyone's like, it kind of makes
don't
me
know if we
dizzy.
need
I
it.
don't rate it.
I think that when they made the switch from the red and blue lenses to that
Mm,
opaque like black one, and there was like
mm,
a black boring black frame, and I feel like that took the magic of 3D away. That was when it
mm.
was like, you're taking it, you're streamlining it now, right?
Just
Because
streamlining it.
the reality was it was a gimmick. So I feel like if
Mhm,
they took it that way, movies like Spy Kids 3D were perfect for 3D. You know, the
mm,
right audience, the right sort of scenes, because you sort of had to make scenes that forced the 3D to really get the effect of it. You know what I
mm,
mean? If it was just like a regular movie with 3D thrown on the top and there was no real scenes that hindered on it, it kind
mm,
of just felt like, you forget about it a quarter of the way through the movie. You got to have it pushed into your face, literally,
mm.
a couple of times for you to get it. I feel like once
Well,
they moved to the black glasses, it was dead in the water.
yeah, it was good. Honest, yeah, it was. But welcome to last screen. What is it? Screencast wins.
Exactly, dude. I would start a podcast just on Spy Kids 3D, 120 episodes,
Have
just
you
breaking
seen
down.
Spy Kids 3D 12 times? I have. I'm the expert.
Oh god. I don't think even the people that were in it has watched Spy Kids 3D that many times.
Nah, nah, not even the people that edited it, I reckon.
Um, there wasn't a lot of editing. It's actually all live. That was all those the thumb people, all that stuff. That was all
People,
those are real people.
they're from the same places as Easter Island heads were.
Yeah, it's the same people.
Just the
Um,
same
from
people.
Chernobyl.
Oh,
Uh, ooh. Now let's get into some football. That's what we're known for.
yeah, that's what we try to get to.
Um, but seriously, there was some big games over the last week or so, and
Hmm.
not just big games in the sense that there were features with fixtures with a lot of expectation and hype around them. But I felt like a lot of them really lived up to it. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like even in week prior, we had Madrid and PSG, which really lived up to that fixture list. There was Man United as well, going out in the Champions League in the fashion that they did, which was exciting to watch. Maybe not so much if you're a Man United fan. Um, but there was, and then also we had the Liverpool and Man City game, which really did live up to the hype. I thought that was probably one of the best examples of what football at its highest level looks like in this day and age. What do you reckon? Do you want to start with EPL or you want to start with Champions League?
Um, well, let's start with the Champions League because there's a big deal to go around there. So we've
Yep.
obviously had um, the round of 16 wrap up.
Yep.
Simeone masterclass. 11 plays behind the ball. Get a goal and never look like you can score another one again.
Yep.
Um, frustrate your opponents to the nth degree. We watched Ronaldo get next to no service and everyone else kind of capitulate around him. We even saw some what was it? B cups fly at Simeone as he was walking down the tunnel.
Yeah.
Really a funny way to go out for United
I thought it was
in a whimper.
there was a lot of poignant moments that happened that sort of kind of exemplified the collapse that United kind of had. It wasn't so much the same sort of capitulation that PSG went through, for example. Um, PSG, it felt like they had something there and it collapsed. It was probably better described as a collapse.
Mm.
Whereas what United went through was less of a collapse and more of they went out more on a whimper, right? They went out
Mm.
more on they didn't go out on their shield, so to speak.
Mm.
And that was exemplified by moments like Harry Maguire clashing heads with Ronaldo, the fans throwing beers at Simeone as he's running off the field, doing his trademark run. All those fans that are in the stadium, the diehard fans, they watch football enough to know that he's going to do that all the time. So they're not taking, irk with that. I'm sure if they'd won the game or it'd been a closer game, they probably wouldn't have given them the same reaction. But it just was the mood in the crowd was such
Mm.
because they felt so helpless throughout the
Mm.
game.
100%.
Then you had also the fact of Ronaldo not really playing the target man, going out onto the wings and trying to create overloads, almost because the service he was getting was so lackluster that not only he himself as a player noticed it and decided, I'm going to drop back a little bit and try to pick up the ball, but his coach noticed it too and decided, hey, let's push him out to the wings and connect him a little closer with these wingers that can't deliver the ball into him. So there's a lot of things that you could have taken in isolation, and it sort of did a good job of explaining the wider picture. You know what I mean? Um,
Mm.
there was also the moment where I feel like it keeps rotating around Maguire. But there's the moment where he sort of dilly dallies with the ball. They're 1-0 down, and he sort of dilly dallies with the ball in the box. He goes to and fro, and then ends up conceding a chance that De Gea has to save. And it's
Mm.
that sort of like, it's not even like you've tried something and failed. It's that you've performed so badly you didn't even create the opportunity for your team to even have an attempt. Do you know what I mean? Like
Mm. I
real.
think, yeah, that's where the frustration comes from.
Mhm.
As a fan, the perspective of a fan, or someone just
Yeah.
even as a neutral as ourselves, I think the way that United went out was pretty, like you said, it wasn't a what they didn't bottle up anything like that. It's just they didn't show any sort of
Yeah.
determination to go out and take the game. Like at least
Yep.
in the first leg, you had those chances on the counter and Ilanga's goal. But
In
other
the
like you
first
said,
half, the
yeah,
first half was that first half was that almost had us.
yeah,
That almost
mm,
had everyone sort of believing. Oh, hold on, maybe Ragnick's going to be able to at least in knockout, Champions League football, maybe be able to sort of get them playing a bit more akin to his tune. More
mm,
pressing,
mm.
more direct passing, all that sort of stuff. But that then fell away in the second half and didn't even really rear its head at all in this game.
No, no, they really they never found the same form they did towards the end of the first leg, and they really kind of went out with a whimper.
Hmm.
To be honest, it was very flat. It was kind of just one of those performances where the team just sat back against United, and their lack of creativity and individual spark, really
Yeah.
just kind of never came to the game, and never really made any crazy chances or gilt edged chances. So they kind of go out flat,
Yeah.
and kind of, I guess, complete the campaign the way they started, a bit lackluster and a bit, dead. If I'm honest, very very
Yeah.
uninspired.
Yeah. And I just wanted to touch on as well, like there's a bit of I haven't seen a whole lot of it personally,
Mm,
being said by the football journalists or people that are involved in the football community that much posting about Atleti's performance. But I
mm,
have seen the opinion bounced around that they played very conservative football and it was sort of anti-football, that sort of sentiment. But the reality was, what it looked like to me is their game plan was as such, where they were going to play on the counter. And when they did get the ball, they were going to attack with really penetrative, direct passes. And I
mm,
never felt that when Atleti, even when they were up 1-0, I never felt that when they won the ball, they sort of tried to kill the game. It was
mm,
win it and let's attack quickly. And they did that very
mm.
often the whole way
It was
through the
all
game.
one touch passing through,
Exactly, exactly.
throughout the middle, or wherever they
Yeah.
decided to
It
get the ball. And
was,
a lot of the time, it was, Jao Felix on the end of him, just kind of either
yeah.
running, flicking it onto Lodi as well on the left hand side. It was just very quick. Never did you really see them just hoof it out up and away,
No, no, no. They weren't
and
trying to
send him to
kill
the
the
other
game in
side.
that sort of sense. They had this game plan of we're going to absorb pressure. When we
Mm,
win it, we're going to go really quick, 2, 3 passes and try to get into the box. And it
mm,
felt that way. It didn't feel like, oh, let's win it and then kill the game off, play sideways, Especially once they got up 1-0, I was kind of expecting them to sort of revert to that. but they really
mm,
didn't. I think they saw that there was weakness in United's ability to defend the counter,
mm,
and they exploited it. I mean, look, it wasn't just the one goal. João Felix scored a goal that was offside. He missed a clear
mm,
chance. Koke
mm,
had a chance. I'm pretty sure Lodi had another one as well before his header. That was a
mm.
little less of a clear opportunity.
Yeah,
It was more of a half
yeah.
chance. There were switches from Lodi to the other. Who was the other? Who's the other fullback on the other side?
I can't remember. I
I
know.
can't remember. But all I know is Lodi was trying to reciprocate to him what he was giving back, and he never really got on the end of any of them. So they,
Mm.
they created a lot of opportunities to score. It's just that, yeah, it doesn't look the sexiest out there when everyone's sort of parked behind the ball. But
Uh,
offensively, I don't think you could hold anything against them. I think they did very well.
Yeah, but then really at this stage, like we've seen Simeone at the same club for 10 years. We've seen him, play tournament after tournament after tournament. We already know what Atleti's game plan is for these
Yeah.
big games, especially second legs. Like really, it's always a case of get a goal and make it super difficult for the other team to find any rhythm. Do some niggly fouls, get some, get under their skin, and then counter them when they really start to get desperate. And that and
Mhm.
that and that was the game plan.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
this game and a lot of games prior to
You,
that.
you you have it here, right? It's a Simeone masterclass, and that's
Mm,
why I think this is a good performance.
mm,
This is what his sort of game plan looks like when it works perfectly, right?
mm,
They create a lot of chances on the break. They deny a lot of chances on the other side for the opposition. They kill the game in the sense that they never let any real offensive momentum build for Man
mm,
United, right?
mm,
They do all that sort of stuff, but even amongst doing all that, they score goals and they do create a lot of chances. Where it goes wrong for Simeone sometimes is that I feel like he can consistently get that first bit down, the defensive part down.
mm,
It's sometimes he doesn't really get the right pieces in place offensively to play that fast, quick. Because the reality is, if you play really, really conservative and you sit everyone behind the ball, those one, two, or three players that you have doing all the offensive work have to be that much greater because they're not supported by 6 or 7 players moving up in the build up, right? You kind of need someone like a João Felix who sort of does like the job of 2 or 3 players offensively. He can play out wide, he can play through the middle, he can play as like a number 10 sort of thing. He's a
mm,
decent finisher. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have a player that's of that caliber that can do so many things, it's almost hard to play this sort of way. Because if you only leave one guy up there, but he's just your run of the mill number 9 or run of the mill winger, he's not going to have the versatility to be able to take advantage of the opportunities you're putting in front of it.
mm,
So I feel like that's why we're seeing a bit of a coming of age for João Felix the last couple games in the Champions League, because Simeone has called on him to step into that role, and he's really, really jumped up to the task. The
mm,
question is, are they going to be able to maintain this level when they come up against their next opposition, which is City?
I
Right?
think I think yeah, they do have City there. I think that the thing with Simeone's game plan, and it's been exposed before, I think what he doesn't account for is those momentary lapses in concentration or just a bit of magic from one player. We've seen, Ronaldo has been a bane for him, over the last couple of years, especially when he was at Real Madrid, even at
Mm-hmm.
Juventus. The first leg against Manchester United. I think his game plan works when everything kind of is controlled and the environment is fully conducive to
Yeah.
this style of play. But as soon as something happens, a lapse in concentration on his player's behalf, or a bit of
Mm.
magic from a single player that carries them across.
Yeah.
At that point for him, it's like there is no game plan B, which is, I guess, one of my personal, I guess, negatives or detractions from Simeone. Is like, yeah, okay, he's great at that one thing he really does well, but after that, if he when he doesn't account for a deviation, he's pretty poor at finding another plan or another idea to get them back in the game. But I
Mm.
mean, again, like I said, it was a masterclass, perfectly executed game plan. It exactly went to plan,
Yep.
and as he expected. I mean, really, United really didn't have anything to show for all that possession they had and all the domination that they showed with the ball. And yeah,
Just one
even
chance from Elanga in like the 48th minute or something like that.
yeah,
That was the only thing that really felt like it could have been a goal. There was that volley that Sancho had, which was actually really hard to probably put away because it kind of
mm,
snapped at him like that. But
mm,
that was, that barely barely went over the bar. That could have easily been a goal.
Yeah.
But that was much more on the half chance side of things rather than like a
Yeah.
full opportunity. But
Yeah.
look, United's gone. Goodbye. We also had Juve poetically
Mm.
go out in the same round.
What a way to go out.
Ronaldo's ex-team.
With pen-
Yeah, really, like you've put here, they dropped the ball. It did feel like that, huh?
Yeah, because I mean, you're in it for about 80 minutes, 75 minutes of the game. You give away a, I don't want to say a suspect. I say it's a clumsy penalty. I
It's
think
clumsy. It's
it
clumsy.
was just wasn't the right move.
No.
A bit slow footed, and then
Yeah,
they send that in. They
because
get
it's
the
it's
goal.
it's soft, but it's also like, well, you've just taken his legs out. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
could tell you
One of
didn't
those,
mean
like,
it.
how can I, yeah, I can defend
Yeah,
against it in the sense that, yeah, it's soft, but the pros outweigh the cons in the sense of, yeah,
yeah,
he went down easy, but, he shouldn't be doing that in the first place. We all
yeah,
know well now that, any contact in the box can be deemed a penalty. But I think the biggest, I think that the worst part about it is not that penalty itself. The goal that comes after that from the header
mm,
from Pau Torres just completely, waltzes in, gets his head onto it, and then
yeah,
the third penalty. Look, Delict slipped, and then he just threw himself at it. I respect it because he was showing some sort of effort to block the shot. But you could see by that point, it was game over. And for a team like Juventus, like they're not the team they were all those years ago when you had Mandzukic scoring bicycle kicks in the final against Ronaldo. But
yeah,
it's just there needs to be a refresh with that
yes,
team. We've
yeah,
we've had Sarri, we've had Ronaldo, we've had all these players come and go, and a great generation come through, but nothing to show for it. So I think they need to hit that refresh button. How they can do it without spending so much and clearing up that wage bill is going to be interesting.
mm,
Trying to see where that next direction goes because they've had a few flops in the transfer market as well as some free agent signings that didn't quite pan out as well as they thought. Diabala kind of didn't hit the heights he was expected to hit due to
yeah,
injury, whatever the case may be. So I think Juve needs to kind of have a long, hard look at itself
yep,
and come back hopefully better for it next season. In terms of their next opponents, Villarreal have probably their biggest test so far. I say Bayern, which
yeah,
I guess one of the three favourites left alongside City and Liverpool.
uh-huh.
According to, I think it was 538 who do the data analysis and run the simulations on it. I think they
Uh-huh.
also do the presidential elections, which is weird. But you've got Benfica,
Interesting.
Liverpool, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Atleti versus Man City, and Villarreal and Bayern, as I mentioned.
What's your
Um,
favorite game of those?
I quite like Real Madrid and Chelsea.
Same.
I think City and Atleti will be a nice, I guess, a bit of a
I think that's more of the thinking man's fixture.
yeah,
You
because I
know,
feel like this could be like
it could be really stalematey.
yeah, it's going to be a pretty tense game where Diego's going to try his best to really just stifle any opportunity. It's going to be like when City versus a bottom relegation side where everyone just
Yeah,
throws
exactly.
everyone in behind, and it's going to be it could be one of those games where Chelsea where Pep overthinks it and overcommits and kind of does something abstract and it doesn't work out.
Just the thing is, right? I think this is like I don't know. I don't think Simeone has a particularly wonderful record against Pep in the
No.
Champions League, right? But I know that Pep himself doesn't have a very good record with this style of team in the Champions League. You know what I
Mm.
mean? If you think of all the big muddle ups they've had in the Champions League over the last couple of seasons, being against a
Leon.
team that Leon, right? Even what's it called? Chelsea, realistically, in the
Mm.
Champions League final that they beat them, they played the way that they played them is very much how Atletico will play them in their
Mm.
coming fixture. That
Mm.
sort of stay really compact, try on the counter attack, and try to do your best to not let them play what's it called, their little one-touch football around your box. And
Mm.
that's and then hope for the best on the counter attack. I think
Mm.
that's the blueprint for beating City. And realistically, if you were to say across world football, who does that game plan the best? I mean, you'd say it's probably Simeone, right?
Yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
agree. But yeah, my favorite is Real Madrid Chelsea because I just think that game it's pretty even. I know Madrid. They're coming off the back of um, a really good game, or really, I guess, two really well, one not so good game in the first leg, and then the second one was a really good game for him. But I think, considering Chelsea's form as well, and obviously the turmoil that's going on with them, I think they're pretty even, if I do say so. Like, obviously, each of them have their own star player or talisman that can kind of be a game changer, or
Yeah.
a few players that can help swing the tie. But
Hmm.
I think this presents a different challenge than PSG did, because obviously in with PSG, you can give them the ball and let them try, try get you, try, break you down, and then they'll overcommit, and then you can nab them on the counter. Whereas Chelsea, it's a little bit different. The onus is on you to break them down, and that's what they want you to do. They want you to overcommit. So I'm interested to see what Ancelotti does
Yeah.
time around, especially with a team. I think one of Chelsea's underrated, I guess, characteristics across their teams. It's a very physical team. Look, you've got obviously Big Rom. He may not score, but he's still a physical presence. You've got the likes of Rudiger, Reece James as well. They're pretty
Yep.
big for their position.
Yep.
Midfield, they're not as big, and you can show because it's a pretty nimble midfield, especially when Kante's running around. But a
Mhm.
lot of physical presence in the team, and
Yeah.
a lot of athleticism, which can pose its own challenges in itself. Um, and also, it's just funny because I don't think Hazard has played against Chelsea ever since he left. And funnily enough, he hasn't played in the Clasico in 4 years at Real Madrid. So he's missed, I think, 5 Clásicos.
Ooh. Will
So
he be there on Monday?
will he be that? Well, I don't think he will be, but I think will Madrid have its return receipt ready
Yeah.
to
So just
throw
leave
back
him
at
there.
Chelsea, so they can get the bus ride home for Madrid in the league. So, but yeah, Villarreal Bayern, I think, could be also interesting, because Villarreal are tough.
Yeah.
You can't underestimate them. Same thing for Benfica. I mean, we kind of touched on it last episode and the episode before that in the first leg. Um, they stifled the likes of Ajax, and I know you'll have something to say about Ajax and their overrated, I guess, fan favoritism. But
Yeah.
Ajax should have won that game with all the chances they've had across the
Yeah.
set, across both legs. But Benfica hung in there, and kind of, I guess, did the rope-a-dope tactic, and run away with the tie, or
Yeah.
both, because they got 2 goals in the first leg, and then one was enough to get him through to the quarter. So it's a mammoth task for Benfica. But look, the fact that they've come this far, and probably one of the weakest teams that they've put out in a long time. I mean, third place in the Portuguese league usually means you're the worst of the three.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Of the three big dogs there. Again, Liverpool in Portugal, it's another summer holiday for them over the last couple of seasons. They've gone there and really had an easy time there. So it's I can't see that one kind of getting out of hand
I,
for
th-
them.
I, s- I like the Chelsea Madrid game the most because out of the 4 games, it's the only one without a clear person leading the
Mm,
dance, sort of thing.
mm.
You know what
I
I
can
mean?
only
Like,
Benzema really.
no, like it's you don't know who's going to be the team pushing the
Mm,
action. You know what I mean? Every
mm,
other team, Liverpool's going to be the one pushing the action in their game, City in theirs, Bayern in theirs, but Chelsea and Madrid, like your inkling is Madrid being a little more conservative of the two, just because of
mm,
how they played against PSG, for
mm,
example.
mm,
However, what kind of Chelsea is going to be the one showing up? Is it going to be the one that's super in form and needs to be feared, or is
mm,
Madrid and Ancelotti going to see something where they can try and go in and try to capitalize on something?
mm,
So I think it's the most wild card of the 4 games, which is not too far
mm,
fetched considering it is the most
mm,
pick'em of the four.
mm, mm.
Let's just quickly go through the Europa League ones as well. We
Some
have
good games there.
yeah,
Some
some good
really good
ones.
games there. Leipzig,
Leipzig,
Atalanta,
Atalanta. That's a nice
West
one.
Ham, yeah, West Ham, Lyon, Barca, Frankfurt, and
Hmm.
Rangers, Braga. I think Rangers, Braga could be a close tie.
Yeah,
Um, West Ham,
that's the
Lyon as well.
pick'em.
I think that's a pick 'em as well. But I think Leipzig and Atalanta. I think hopefully, if they don't, if Gasperini doesn't do a bottle job, or stray away from his principles, that's going to be a fun game to watch. I think. I think that's probably my pick of the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I'm really interested in seeing West Ham Lyon. Just
Mm.
because is West Ham gonna have like are they gonna learn from the stress of that first uh what's it called, knockout game against who they just play, uh
Um,
champion Sevilla, right?
yes, yeah.
Are they going to learn from that and realize maybe we should try to go for it a bit more in the first leg, so we're not having to fight for 2 goals in our own stadium, like stuff like that?
Mm,
I'm curious to see how they're going to approach the game any differently. Just because on paper, Leon is less capable than Sevilla is, right?
mm,
So like,
mm,
are they going to go into it a bit more gung ho than they did
mm,
against Sevilla? So what? And then also, like you said, Leipzig, Atalanta, just the styles that are going at head to head there, very interesting to see. I just wanted to touch on a couple things about the Ronaldo and Messi saga sort of coming to an end a little bit.
mm.
We saw both of them knocked out in the round of 16. I don't know when the last time both of them have been out at the round of 16 is. Were they both out last year at the round of 16 as
I
well?
believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's twice in a row now. After maybe never happening for like what 15 years.
Well, it felt
So
like there was a time where you could just put each of them on one team, and the rest just kind of follow their lead. Just as long as
yeah,
you had one of them on your team, you're as good as
yeah,
gold.
you're 1 foot in the final.
Uh,
Um, so yeah, so there's that, right? So there's the obvious fact that they're both out of the cup, but then you just look at the sort of context around it. Um, Ronaldo got eliminated by Simeone's team. He was a bane on Simeone's existence in the Champions League for so many years.
mm,
And then Messi goes out with PSG, but against Real Madrid. Probably his most obvious rival in his whole time in Spain. So there was
mm,
just a lot of narrative power there, I thought.
mm. A lot of
So
story.
because last year when they both bounced out, it was like, maybe they bounce back next year.
Maybe they
Ronaldo
just
moved
need a different team. Too much
yeah,
chaos, unrest.
yeah, Ronaldo moved to United, which at the time we thought was him joining a stronger team than
Mm,
Juventus.
mm,
Messi moved to PSG, which at the time was definitely considerably more powerful than Barcelona was. So
mm,
then it kind of made us feel like, yeah, they went out in around the 16, but they've both gone into greener pastures. Maybe they'll reignite, so to speak. But now I think with the fact that it's been twice in a row, the performances that they put out there, weren't of the same ilk of
mm,
any of the ones they provided before. And then on top of that, you have all this stuff like, you know, Ronaldo being dropped by one of his greatest rivals in the Champions League, and then Messi getting dropped by one of his greatest. So,
mm.
yeah, I think we've seen the end of it. I think
I think
yeah,
they're just humans now. That's
yeah,
it. They've
yeah,
stopped. They've stopped being these super figures, demigod kind of guys where it was impossible to camp them out, or they were able to
yeah.
dictate a game with just a touch of the foot. I think they've just returned to back to being regular regular
Regular
humans,
Joes.
regular footballers. Yeah, just regular Joes that
Yeah,
rely on the other 10 players to kind of help them out and get them across the line. I think for Ronaldo, it's a bit more interesting because he's obviously had more vocal problems with United, or what seemed to be more, um, I guess, more highlighted issues.
hmm
Obviously, because he's just a more emotional guy. You can really see it on him when he plays and he's
yeah.
frustrated.
Of course, yeah,
Whereas Messi, like Messi's obviously not an emotional guy, but he just seems very much, I guess, so far he's been a passenger, really. Like we've seen glimpses and flashes of it, and we saw him play for Argentina as well at the Copa, and we can still see if he wants to influence something, he can obviously do it.
yeah, yeah,
I just think it's for him. PSG is just, a last ride, or a
yeah.
grab. To be honest, like it's
Yeah,
as sad as
the
it
way
may
the way I
sound.
see it is that he probably saw it as the easiest and most comfortable avenue he could go down to stay fit for the World Cup. Because if he went like if he did something crazy like went back to Argentina or something, or took a sabbatical, it'd be very hard for him to like stay in the national team, or at
Mm,
least stay in a position or in an influence where it'd be okay for him to be starting. You know what I mean?
mm,
So I think he
mm,
wanted to make sure that he was still, unquestionably a starting player for them and captain. So
mm,
that's why he's tried to stay in Europe, and he picked PSG.
mm.
I don't think he was going there with like this. I think the way Ronaldo went to United is sort of uncomparable to why Messi went to PSG.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
Ronaldo went to United because he saw it as an opportunity to further his legacy, whereas I
Mm.
think Messi just went as a way to stay fit, like joining a Zumba class. You know.
A very expensive and well-paid Zumba class.
Exactly. But anyways, end of an era. It was fun while it lasted, but sadly, I think it's at least in Champions League football, I think we've seen the end of Messi and Ronaldo driven teams. Hope I'm wrong, but
Mm.
now in the EPL there was some exciting happenings as well. The
Mm-hmm.
most exciting of all of them, Liverpool have closed the gap between themselves and City,
Mm.
having won their game in hand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Teeing up very nicely their clash with City in what is it, 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Think it's 2 or 3 weeks because
2 or 3 weeks.
I believe the game is on April 9th or 10th.
There
So
you
within
go.
the first week of April, yeah.
So you're looking at about that's 2 weeks,
I
two
think
three weeks away.
after the international break.
Yes, definitely after international break. So about three weeks away. Teed up perfectly now, only 1 point gap, and also something interesting. Liverpool have a better goal difference.
A mammoth
Yeah,
lead on the goal difference.
yeah,
I think it's at least 5 or 6 goals, which
yeah.
is huge.
It is huge. So closing the gap, and if they were to go ahead of City, it would feel so much bigger than the lead that City currently has over them because
Mm.
of that goal difference. So very exciting. What do you think about that?
Look, only a couple of weeks, or maybe about a couple months ago now, we were saying, City's comfortably away with this, 12 points. We need a mammoth collapse. And I wouldn't say it's been a mammoth collapse. I think
No,
it's just been more so Liverpool just super consistent. They've taken points when they've needed it. We haven't really heard of any slips from
nope.
Liverpool recently. No draws. They've just been humming along. I mean, the game against
Playing just as well with their backup players as they
yeah,
are with their
exactly,
starters.
yeah,
The whole
yeah,
thing was, what I thought was interesting was when we were going into the period of time where we had the African Cup, right?
mm,
And Liverpool still hadn't closed the gap. I said, "Oh, now it's going to get even wider because without
mm,
their best players, they might slip a point here or there." No, they went right through it. If anything, City halted over that period of time. And then
mm,
now they've got the influx of Salah and Mane back in, and they got to kick up the arse of that, obviously.
mm, mm,
That's where they sort of made that initial push to get to close the gap. And
mm,
with City, it wasn't so much losses that have shaken them. It's more 3 pointers that turned into one,
mm.
like the last game against Crystal Palace.
Yeah, 100%. Or just, I guess the biggest slip up would be against Tottenham, where that was a winnable game for them, regardless of the score. That was a winnable game for them because they really just again should have converted those points and really taken the game by the scruff of its neck and put Spurs to the sword because they.
Yeah,
I mean, they let Spurs come back right at the end off the back of some, I guess, slow defending, a bit sluggish, and that was the kind of the catalyst for it. And it's not to say that they've been playing bad or anything like that. It's just like you said, 3 pointers that turned into 1 pointers, and
yep,
maybe some 1 pointers that turned into none. So
hmm
credit to Liverpool for staying so consistent. Again, that's what we said. If Liverpool can stay consistent, keep winning, keep taking points, eventually, they might give themselves an opportunity to catch up, and they've done it now. They're 1 point behind. Again, perfect time for the game to come around. Good narrative again
yeah,
um, uh,
legit.
for both teams. I think
And
from
very, we're close to we're in the final third of the
10
season,
games,
the
yeah,
last the
we're in the
last
stretch.
last stretch. So like this could be the game.
Mm,
Whoever wins this game, because if realistically both teams could go on to like win or go undefeated the rest of the games they're on after,
And
right?
I think,
So
yeah,
it could really come down to who takes the L here.
yeah, and I think City actually has an easier run of games after the
Yes.
the Liverpool game. So it's interesting to see how it goes down. I'm happy for it, and I think it's better for the league overall
Yeah.
that we just see an exciting end to the league. And also, if you look down the other side, it's also spicy, getting a little spicy. I mean, Everton snatched 3 points away from Newcastle at the death. Frank breaks his hand
Yeah.
in the celebrations. No, Leeds come back for two on the trot, one win against Norwich, and then come back from 2-0 down against Wolves to
Wolves.
snatch it
Yeah.
right at the end 3-2. Luke
Mhm.
Ayling with the winner. So yeah, it's definitely getting a lot crazier towards the end of the season now on both sides. So I'm just
Mm.
happy to watch it and see how it goes towards the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah, for sure. It's heating up. You know.
The heat is
Um, just wanted to touch on as well. Big old Ron Dogs, got his hat trick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, that's sort of not. I wouldn't say it's sort of a like trying to say that. What my point I'm trying to get at is that it feels like the kind of hat trick that says to everyone like, "Hey, this guy's not finished, right?
Mm,
The squads are just garbage around him," and it
mm,
kind of makes me feel like if he can still do performances like this, why is he gonna waste his time spending another season there? Like, what do you think? Because I didn't think he still had this in him. Now, I'm not saying he doesn't have goals, he's not a good player anymore or anything like that. But to score a hat trick in an intense game, you know what I mean, where it comes down to the wire and you're present for 90 minutes as a 36-year-old player, that's hard to do. You know what I
mm.
mean? Like that's physically demanding. I didn't think he really had that in him. And because of that, I kind of thought, well, he's coming towards the twilight of his career. Maybe he's willing to make a few concessions around what sort of players he's playing with. But if he can still do shit like this, like why not expect more from the guys around you? Like you're still able to do what your role is. It's really the shortcomings of everyone else that's bringing you down. So I'm just thinking, like, do you think he's gonna make a move at some point, or do you reckon he's willing to ride it out?
I think he's really willing to ride it out because realistically, what is the other move? Like, what is the next move? Like PSG, maybe. I mean,
Yeah,
it'd be absolutely bombastic if Mbappe does complete the move to Real Madrid, and then as his replacement,
Ronaldo.
PSG sign Ronaldo, and we have Ronaldo, Messi, and Neymar
Yeah,
on one team. I think that would absolutely break football and all the rules that we ever knew about
yeah,
it into a million pieces. But that's the only other thing I can see. I think I think for him at this stage, it's I think he still has a lot of power and a lot of sway. And as we heard around the start of the season, where he banned, where everyone stopped eating pudding
yeah.
um, at the cafeteria at Man United, and the talk of youngsters saying, oh, he says this and he does that.
Mm,
Um, Ralph is still only the temporary manager for now. We don't know if they're gonna make him permanent or who will be the permanent appointment
mm.
at United. So it remains to be seen. I still think it's up in the air. I think unless again PSG make a huge move after Mbappe's exit
Yeah,
and goes to sign him.
yeah.
I mean, you'd be dumb if you're United to turn down an exorbitant offer.
Mm,
And if you're Ronaldo, how funny would it be that you and Messi team up to win a title, or try and win
yeah,
one last Champions League together, or complete a just do some crazy FIFA-esque type of
yeah. Fantasy stuff.
fantasy move,
Yeah,
and put them on the same team. I don't know. Personally, I wouldn't mind the PSG thing now that I've said it out loud, but I
yeah.
think he's going to stay at United. I think he's going to ride it out. There's a new coach coming, hopefully,
Mm,
potentially, and I
yeah,
just think that the team is too poor. Is too talented to be playing this poor. As much as it pains me to say, I think even Maguire and stuff like that. I really think they can play better.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
yeah.
matter of I don't know, figuring something out or maybe moving some pieces along. I know Pogba. I mean, looks like he's on his way out. Just looking at his body language, complete bro science and armchair analysis.
Yeah, well,
But
he's out of the rotation. I mean, that on its own is
yeah, I
enough
mean, he
to
came off the
send any
bench
player.
in an elimination game against Atleti.
Atletico in a
You know,
game where they were dominating possession and they needed someone to
yeah,
split a pass. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
he just didn't look like he's been interested at all.
Because the thing is with Ralph,
Last
if,
couple of
if
games.
if the situation with Ralph is they're a bit different to other coaching relationships because
Mm,
other coaches they fall out with a player and the coaches normally lose. But because of the
mm,
position that Ralph's going to go into as sporting director, it's kind of like, well, if he doesn't like the cut of your jib, like you're gone because
yeah.
he's in that capacity. He's not there in the short term. He's there in the long term.
Mm,
So when a player starts to fall out of rotation and he's the coach and he's going up to the sporting director role, you can almost say, yeah, his time's pretty limited unless whoever comes in really loves him and finds a place for him. If the Ralph carousel keeps spinning, so to speak, yeah, there's not going to be any room for Pogba.
right.
All right, let's get out of the Prem and let's do a quick little A League wrap up here before we jump off. All right, we had The Wanderers play Adelaide. Very scrappy game.
Super scrappy game.
Yep.
Pretty ugly game. To
Yes.
watch. Very stop start, herky jerky, misplaced passes, and half chances galore. But
Uh-huh.
look, Adelaide should have converted their chances when they had them. I thought they would have eventually. Maybe it was a lack of star power or a proper forward to take advantage of them, because I know the Japanese fellow, I can't remember his name now, but
Yeah.
um, he had a few glancing headers and could have done a little bit better with
Mm.
some of his finishing. But credit to Wanderers, they stuck through it. They held on right till the end. And Murchala gets his first goal, and really again kind of epitomizes the game. It was a scrappy goal. It bounces
Very
around.
scrappy.
He
Yeah.
just kind of right place, right time, puts his foot through it. So
Now
uh,
we also have this is an interesting one because they're playing again today, 4 days later.
yes, a nice what do you call it? A return
Reverse
leg.
fixture. Yeah, exactly. Because this time the Wanderers are at home.
Yep.
I'm wondering if it'll be any different because very much on the back foot last game against
Mm,
Adelaide, but
mm,
Adelaide was at home, so maybe a little bit more expected.
mm,
Curious to see because wasn't it didn't feel as if everything went to game plan for the Wanderers. I think the way you describe it of them holding on is a better kind of description of what happened on the field.
mm.
Definitely felt like they were surviving rather than thriving out there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I want to see if maybe this time around there's a bit more execution on the part of the game plan, and we see something a little bit more productive out there. Because the reality was that's not the sort of game you want to recreate. You don't want that to be how you play football. Very
Mm,
stressful, very ugly, um, not very progressive in any sort of way. Kind of the opposite of what we've seen from the Rudan games, to be honest, so far. You know what I mean?
100%.
Whereas, mostly if we've lost at least trying to play a little bit more progressively. But this was a very very dismal performance. We'll see if it's any
Mm.
different today. Then we had Sydney versus Western United.
Top of the table. It didn't look like it on the score, but yeah,
Yeah,
Sydney FC convincing. Surprisingly,
very.
considering you know their form. They just lost Cam Serba for a little while now, and they're trying to, I guess, they've hit another a lull point in the season, trying to, I guess, reestablish some form. But look,
Yeah.
credit to them at home against the top team.
Mm.
Really
Oh,
just
well,
made it
former
look.
top team.
Yeah, former top team. They
Yeah.
really made it look pretty easy. I mean, they even had the third goal for Mustafa Abini, where they just picked their pockets right at the back off a mistake from Jamie Young. Was kind of what do you call it? I guess a glimpse into the game
Yeah.
overall. And not much. If you watch the highlights, there's not much to show from Western United. Obviously, Prijovic had the earlier goal ruled out for offside. I mean, very
Yeah.
close
Yeah.
offside, nevertheless. Yeah, it's just it was just a surprising way for United to kind of roll over, I guess.
Yeah. And man, Sydney needed it.
Yeah,
Sydney
exactly.
needed it. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Luciano Narsing got on the board with
Hmm.
his first goal. Mustafa Amini as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Very
no,
good.
it was a very very solid and impressive performance. Again, Cáceres really stepped up and I guess dictated the play. You could see a
Yeah.
lot of the balls and a lot of the play that was going through him was being effective and offensive and really trying to help his team get along. So yeah, he's still continuing his form. He's probably the most in form, and
Yeah.
if not probably one of the better players we've seen all season
Mm.
in terms of contribution, eye test, everything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's not going to be.
He surprises me. Like I understand that there's a few more people to compete with in his position, but I'm surprised that they didn't take a flyer on him and select him for the national team. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of I get there's a lot of midfielders out there that you can select from, but there's not a
mm,
lot of Australian midfielders that play the role his way. You know what I mean?
mm,
So like,
I,
even if you don't have the thought of using him as your main piece or anything, I just feel like he offers something different that there really isn't on the national team at the moment,
mm,
and
mm.
he's playing to me. He's playing well enough to be called up.
At
Um,
least, yeah, at least I think what he does well is kind of dictate the offense and the pace of the game, and maybe he doesn't fit the overall the idea of what Arnold wants to do, but I
yeah,
think bringing him on to be the guy to just kind of dictate pace or take a little
yeah,
sideways pass on and play a ball through, it doesn't hurt. I mean, we've got a lot of runners
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
with
Yeah, he
Irvine.
gives them some variance there, you know.
Yeah, 100% with Irvine, and I'm drawing a blank. Martin, he's striker, but he's
Scorsese.
Martin Scorsese, yeah. And even our Mabul on the wide side,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Aiden Hrustic as well. Like it, they're all runners and technical, but none of them can really dictate the game and slow
no,
it down and play a killer pass like Caceres can. So
mm.
yeah, 100%. Get a couple of Southos in there.
Yeah,
Fornaroli's in there now. Why not get another Uruguayan in there and
yeah,
complete
legit.
complete the get the bit of telepathy going in there.
Yeah, get some green chemistry lines.
Yeah, yeah.
We also had City versus Victory.
The Melbourne
Um,
Derby.
the Melbourne Derby, probably
Part two.
the first. Well, they've already played this season, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, their derbies this year have lived up to the expectations. The Sydney
100%.
derbies this year, a little bit of a whimper, but this
Mm,
game in particular was really good, really good. The
mm,
atmosphere was ridiculous in this game.
mm. I think the first one was a little bit more exciting.
I
And I
think because
think
that was in,
around Christmas.
and it was also wasn't Melbourne Victory at home for that one.
Yeah, Melton Victor was
Yeah,
at home, so he probably had more fans, and it was just coming out of the COVID, was the summer COVID problems,
yeah,
that had some of the restrictions were lifted at the time.
hmm
But I think also, I thought the players looked fresher, obviously, because they had such a big break, and they had a couple of games under their belt. But
yeah,
nothing to take, not to take away anything from this game itself. I thought it was a very even game.
yeah,
Neither team really dominated, but I think City should have won it just based off what they were able to create right at the end, because they really had victory on a platter. It looked like they were ready to just throw one punch or one killer blow to really send them home, but you know
yeah.
they bottled it, or
Mm,
Guerrero with two goal line clearances and two last ditch efforts to stop a goal from coming in.
yeah.
Um, you know,
Like I think it was one of those games where both of them you could have fairly said, if they had won the game, you could have been really fairly justified in it.
mm,
But I think when all's said and done, you look back at the chances in the game, you would say that City had the clear opportunities to put it away towards the end. So
especially in crucial moments.
yeah, it wasn't so much like they bottled it, so to speak. It's just that okay, it was a very even game. Either one of you could have won, but the reality is, right towards the end, you had some walk off moments there.
Mm,
McLaren with it felt like a couple of chances towards the end
a
where
ghost.
yeah, he just sort of ghosted him.
Mm.
Bit of a fault of his form this season. He hasn't been able to sort of get to the same heights as he has previously. Did he have an injury? I feel like he had an injury towards the beginning of the season.
He may have. He
Yeah,
may have had COVID as well. I'm pretty sure. But yeah,
yeah.
look. He keeps disappearing on these big games, and that's a big problem. And like this game, he had a chance in particular where he did a little Ronaldo chop, put on
Mm,
his left, and was just too eager to put his foot through it, and he hit it as the ball bobbled up, and he just sent it skywards and way left.
yeah,
I think with a little bit more composure and trust in himself, I think maybe he puts that chance away, because that was golden moment, 86th
yeah.
minute. You haven't done much this game, but you popped up right in the moment where your team needed you,
Mm.
and the
Snatched
fact
at it.
that he snatched at it showed that he might have been just a little shy of the moment, or wanting
Mhm.
to too eager to prove a point.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see that. But still, look, man, City they've really surprised me this season because they did not start in the same sort of hot form that they normally do. Their best players haven't really shone as brightly as they normally have. Their key signings took a bit of time to get underway. They've not given as many minutes to their upcoming star players like Tilio that I expected them to. But even with all that, they're still able to stay first and still put together some relatively consistent performances. They're really going to be hard to beat this year, I think,
Mm,
because I don't know what you ask from a team to do differently other than what Victory did in their game against them yesterday. And they still, you could say walked away with the better moments in the game. So
mm,
they're really like it really feels like kind of like City in the EPL. It kind of feels like you need to set up in a way where all you really do is make sure that they don't score and give yourself a puncher's chance. That's really the only outlet you have because no
mm.
one can really play them football for football at this point in time.
No, no.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. All glory be to Bozza. Follow us on the socials at Last Goal Wins Pod _ on Instagram, at Last Goal Wins Podcast on Facebook, at Last Goal Wins Pod _ on Twitter. Thank you very much. Play that music. Goodbye.